देख मैं वहां तक पहुंच पाती हूँ रिगार्ड टू फोटोग्राफ्स. हाँ ठीक है. ना नहीं नहीं ठीक है. अब इस तरह ही ऊंचा होता मेरा खंड. इट इज मोर देन दैट. अमित आनंद. Accept, we have to accept that. Admit. करिए. Okay. So, well, can we start from the other end, Dev?
Sorry, I was just having lunch.
They were having lunch now?
He's in Bangalore, so
Oh,
he's
in
joining.
Bangalore.
You go ahead, I'll come in later.
Even Bangalore is not,
okay.
Is not a time for lunch even in Bangalore.
Nowhere.
I can understand maybe in Germany or UK.
Well, I can start from myself if others can finish their lunch. So my name is Govind Kelkar and I convene this meeting for today, and also I've been convener of earlier meetings, International Alliance to End Witch Hunts. And with your support, the meetings have been going on, although today it seems not many are able to join. And obviously it is because I understand many meetings I want to join, but I'm not able to join. So I've not been able to join because they were just clashing with each other. So that's it. Samantha, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Samantha Spence, much prefer Sam, and I am a senior lecturer and course director in law at Staffordshire University in the UK. I've been involved in the UN resolution from about 2012-13, so we've been in that group that's fought all the way through to get the resolution. I've been in Geneva with Govind a few times as well, and we're looking to set up an international network against witchcraft accusations and associated harmful practices. So when we get that established, I'll be able to tell you more on that. That would be good if people could join.
Thank you, Samantha. Sarika?
Hi everyone, I'm Sarika. I work in the Coady International Institute, and I am the theme person on women's rights with the International Center for Women's Rights. Prior to this, I used to work with ActionAid for about 2 decades almost, and I used to be one of the international directors there. I'm deeply involved in work with women branded as witches across the northern part of India and the central part of India, and I'm very happy to be a part of this alliance. Thank you.
Young man would introduce himself.
Young man has run away.
Okay. And Sarika, you are back for a few days to India, right?
Yes.
Right now you are in Bhopal.
I'm in Bhopal, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Dev, have you finished your lunch? Then you can introduce yourself.
I put it aside. Okay, I'm Dev Nathan. I do work on gender issues and witch hunts along with Govind. I also work in other areas like inequality in the global economy. So I've been part of this. I've been studying along with Govind these issues of witch hunts for 30 years. So we're continuing that. Thank you.
Amit?
Yeah, hello everyone. I am Dr. Amit Anand. I am an assistant professor at School of Legal Studies, Rewa University, Bangalore. I also recently completed my PhD from Lancaster University, UK. My topic was violence against women. It was a study on practices of honor killing, witchcraft, and Devadasi in India. Prior to that, I did my LLM in human rights from UK as well. So I'm here because Dr. Samantha Spence told me about this. So yeah, that's it from me.
Very welcome, Amit. You have a very distinguished kind of work. So why you could be here otherwise also, that we didn't know about you. So that's why I couldn't invite you earlier. So there are two items today to discuss. First thing, I would like to extend the welcome and greetings to all of you.
Introductions.
Huh?
Have you finished the introductions?
Yes, we don't have many people joining today.
No, but I didn't hear Kaka introduce himself or Gazania introduce himself.
He is so well known that I thought
I had already introduced myself earlier.
He would walk away. Professor Kaka, there's a formality, okay? Please.
Yeah. I'm Virginius Kaka. I'm academics, but I retired and I live in Delhi. I have not worked on witchcraft or witch hunting per se, but I have an interest in it, and because of my engagement with the Adivasis who's in Eastern and Central India. So, yeah, thank you.
And he has been advisors to so many people, those who work on witch hunts, right?
Yes, I can advise.
And there is a youngest researcher, Gazania. Gazania?
I think, where is she?
Gazania?
Hira.
Okay. Some connection problem.
I think her connection is dropped.
Yeah. Gazania worked with me in Meghalaya. She's a young assistant professor and she has been in this study when I'm doing Meghalaya. She's Khasi and very bright student, very kind of good analysis she has. So I'm just introducing her because she doesn't seem to be connecting. Huh?
She is in Nehu or Martin Luther University?
She is in Martin Luther University, Martin Luther Christian University. Yeah. I met Professor Desmond, you would know from Nehu.
Yes.
I had a discussion with him. So
I know. Yeah, I know.
Folklorist, but he doesn't work on the
witch
hunt question. So that would be the. So I extend now, I would just introduce some things in the beginning and then probably so that discussion can continue and those who can join late, they will join late. So welcome and greetings to all of you. In the last minute, it was decided that we would have another meeting before the end of the year. And I thought it was a good time to meet kind of thing sometime in before, rather than third week, we should meet in second week because gradually people get busy and busy. So there are two items of agenda, which were almost kind of pre-decided, but any other item of the agenda is very welcome. So we can say three items of agenda. One is that we did a study on witch hunts and ritual attacks in Northeast India, particularly focusing on two states, Meghalaya, which is the matrilineal, and Nagaland, which is highly patriarchal. And that is briefly, I would present on that because I was one of the researchers there, our lead researcher. We were thinking that we can have the 15 minutes for presentation, each presentation, and 10 minutes or 15 minutes for discussion, as long as the questions and comments continue. The second is that it was decided in the last meeting that each one of us should take some studies, or each or most of us should take some study on the witch hunts. What is the number, why they are kind of persecuted or killed, and what happens to them. So how it should be looked at. And then they've offered to do a kind of preliminary questionnaire so that based on our earlier work. So then he has drafted that and we can discuss that and we can add and our inputs or ask to delete something. This is the agenda for today's meeting. Now, do I have any other thought from you on any other thing that we should discuss? One thing that I was suggesting, we should also plan some activities for the next year if something comes in mind. However, the limited number we have today, but it will be important.
Just on that point, Govind, we are looking to plan an event in September 2023 to launch this international network at the UN Human Rights Council. We had the discussion, didn't we, with Miranda to think about March, but March will be too soon. So we're hoping that September will be a big event at the UN, and we would love everybody to come. But further details will be announced, as I know, but that's definitely something that will be happening.
Okay, so that would be the third thing that we can discuss. You can explain a little bit more, September meeting. Okay. Thank you, Samantha. Any other point? Okay, so let's start, and as the thought process goes on, we can do that. So this is the research team, and the title of the study was Culture, Capital and Witch Hunts in Meghalaya and Nagaland in Northeast India. Besides me, our research team was Rosemary Debucci from Nagaland, and Kasavi, a MPhil student from there, as she has completed MPhil, now PhD student. Gazania, who I hope will join, and Marwa Siam, also one of these two are the assistant professors or associate professors. Marwa is associate professor in Martin Luther Christian University, and Daniel from Garo Hills, and Anant Pandey works here in Delhi with me. And so this is the research team that we were part of it. So what was the study intends to explore, really objective was to social belief and cultural practices, as well as economic concerns that give rise to witch violence and ritual attacks. Yet at the same time, they also create social and legal spaces for human rights-based discourses, questioning the practice of witch hunts and ritual attacks. And I saw this in particularly Garo Hills, a bit of Nagaland, where people, young men in particular, they have started questioning this, besides the academics have their own position. As an outcome, we would like to see the social systems of Northeast India, where witch hunts will not be seen as a normal part of the indigenous culture. Tremendous respect for indigenous cultures, but witch hunts should not be seen as the normal kind of part. I also saw that about what kind of cultures now we are talking, which I would discuss later, but I wanted to see, which is really not pre-Christianity and pre-colonial culture. That has been distorted by the introduction of the British colonialism and the large scale kind of Christians. So that would be Christianity being introduced. So our understanding of the witch hunt, how do we define witch hunt, is the persecution, even killings of women and some men who are supposed to have acquired supernatural powers, which they use to harm others, and particularly in their own community. So whether it is Thlen, witch, or tiger spirit, they are all concentrated in their own communities. So we raised 3 questions. And these questions are one of the question about the cultural belief, what is good and evil among humans. Usually women are seen as the evil kind of thing and witch kind of thing. Second is about patriarchy. How do we create and recreate patriarchy through nexus of ideas, customs, social norms, behavior of men and women, and giving power to men in knowledge, ritual knowledge, production, reproduction, sexuality. So this is the process, is all pervasive kind of situation. And third is really structural transformation, particularly major economic and other forms of transformation, from subsistence to limited surpluses and growing capitalist economy, and from non-accumulation to accumulation, conflict of norms, gendered social system. So our question, this has been the framework in which 3 questions have been raised. Now, it is important to point out that this study is not intended to debase positive aspect of the indigenous cultures and their religious practices. This is very, very important, because you focus on one area, then it is seen that, are you presenting indigenous people like this? What is this kind of nonsense going on? So it is not, we recognize very important things about their egalitarian way of life, nurturing of forest, sustainability of natural resources, which are missing a large part of this, but still we clearly see in Nagaland and Meghalaya both. What we have intended to show that there are other elements of indigenous beliefs, norms, practices that have a negative impact on women and their cultures, indigenous societies' cultures. And addressing these practices could make indigenous cultures more gender responsive and also responsive to human rights. That has been the purpose of the study. So in the methodology, we did, of course, systematic literature review, the common thing, and we conducted our focus group discussion and individual discussions in the 4 sites in East Khasi Hills and 4 in Garo Hills, in Meghalaya, and 5 sites in Nagaland. Site were kinds of sometimes sitting with the Ojha kind of thing, that was kind of thing people would gather. So we had like this 11 focus group discussions, 43 individual interviews, including 2 Thlen keeping households, where the people were willing to talk about that, how they were treated by the society. They were known. Thlen is a large size kind of snake, which is considered that those who keep Thlen get richer without any effort, so effortless riches. Person with tiger spirits, those person I met who admitted that how they were tiger spirits were being treated, or tiger men were called, but I met a woman also who was called a tiger woman. 9 Ojhas, Kaviraj and herbalist. Because there is no law in these, so Ojhas and Kaviraj, herbalists, they were willing to talk. And then 8 Gaon Buddhas, village elders, and 2 tiger spirit survivors who were coming there and getting themselves treated. And 7 academics and journalists, and 4 administrators, and 9 common villagers. These were the kind of range of the interviews and focus group discussion that we have. What is interesting in this, in the administration, we had also a retired IG police officer who also believed in the tiger spirit, and who gave me this introduction and number of to meet the tiger woman. So this was very interesting. And they said, where are these men, tiger men? And they said a lot of them are in the police, and a lot of them are also in the Naga army. So there have been kind of, in terms of theoretical underpinnings, 3 major streams of thought. One is the anthropological studies on misfortune and community role of witch accusation within cultural context of indigenous and rural societies. What they have really done, that they have seen these practices as the kind of occult practices. But conflict happens, they record that, but did not really raise the question why it happens. Second is the postmodernist studies. They depict witches, the modernity's malcontents, otherwise things were better off. And Sylvia Federici's new book, which is Witch Hunting and Women, explains capitalism and patriarchy together produce witches who were confined to the reproductive servitude of bearing men's children. How they are different and similar to them, that this research, based on our earlier study, Dev and mine, that this combines a political economy approach with an analysis of culture and patriarchy. We relate cultural aspect to witch persecution and witch hunting in economic, social, political processes of change, as well as to the creation and strengthening of patriarchy, ongoing kind of thing. It is not that other societies are free of strengthening patriarchy, but this is also happening in indigenous and remote rural areas, which is the point that we point out. So in the Khasi gender system in the Meghalaya and Nagaland, I think most of you are familiar, but what we wanted to see that there is some changes happening. Then somebody joining? No. So in the Khasi matrilineal system, as you know, youngest daughter, Khaddu, has the right to inherit ancestral property land, and she manages her kur or clan. And the head of the clan is the maternal uncle, who in consultation with the matri-clan members decides on social and political interests of members. This is the practice. And to some extent, this practice exists today, but only in notionally. In real sense, that authority of the husband and patrilineal is being introduced, although the lineage is still with daughters or women. There are these three organizations. English translation would be Foundation for a New Earth, men's rights group, which is opposed by women, but is making tremendous strides that men should have the right like in the rest of India. The second group also is Saprang movement, which advocates equal distribution of property between daughters and sons, including to the point it has become so popular that if you talk in Shillong, then young people like Gazania and others, they think that now there is no kind of difference. The distribution of the property is equal, kind of between boys and the girls. So that kind of is really notional. Growing capitalist values and market forces leading to drastic change in egalitarian society. And fourth is really the Khasi scholar like Nangburi and others point out that Christianity as an agent of modern education has altered traditional social structures, seriously eroding the ideological and material basis of Khasi matrilineal. So the tremendous change in the culture has been brought out in the matrilineal culture, largely because of two elements: Christianity, which introduced a modern education and with a lot of capitalist values, and growing of the capitalism, including the forest being privatized and degraded. Nagaland women are excluded from political decision making. And Garo Hills, Garo Hills is very important for matrilineal. In Garo Hills, women play a major role in forest land and livestock, and they are the village heads called Nokma. While their husbands are supposed to assist them, but over the years, things have changed, and men have usurped this decision-making power. They are known now as the male Nokma. They call them male Nokma. And then I asked, okay, what is this male Nokma? And then I was explained this. So if you ask for the Nokma, that women are just doing agriculture work or forest work, and women Nokma. And men are making decisions on the village affairs and dealing with this. In Nagaland, of course, very patriarchal, women are excluded from political decision making, and they are considered right from the traditionally, and now their primary tasks are childbearing and cleaning, cooking, agriculture work, while men are managing political affairs, hunting and warfare. These are the three things that men are supposed to do. But this is being cushioned now, both in Garo Hills and also Nagaland, that they are trying to present women as fearless and demanding their rights, so that they are no longer coy and timid and accepting this male authority. So I would like to show you this picture. In Garo Hills, these are the women, and this is led by the Naga Women's Naga Mothers Union, a campaign Be Bold for Change. And they protested in March 2017, asking for their restoration of their rights. And this protest is still going on, although it's not such large numbers, but off and on it comes up. And they say that we have to get back our Nokma rights, which have been taken with us unconsciously. Next. So what are the cultural rights and social beliefs? I think my position is that, or our position has been that things have become very much kind of by dominant groups, majoritarian regimes, and growing capitalist forces. The cultural system that are being talked about, the indigenous culture, is really polluted by these factors. So why not really, and it is difficult to now get back to the earlier culture, but what is best is really that we fight for a human rights respecting cultural mixing and syncretism. That is an open kind of factor, that learning what are the good practices from other culture. And these cultural codes can be our kind of own kind of cultures, and not really be trapped into the imposition of a fabricated monocultural construct in the name of indigeneity or indigenous cultures. 5 more minutes. So I have taken the 3 major institutions to look at this. One is the Thlen, which is a kind of large snake, as I said earlier, of enormous size, but mythical. Nobody has seen this snake, who feeds on itself on the human blood. And over a long period of time, it has acquired the state of a strong home spirit that is supposed to rich men or poor men kind of, in order to become rich, they keep them. But nobody dare to identify the person, because they think if you identify, even identifying means that the Thlen is going to attack. This belief results in lynching, and people get fed up of this because the children get sick. Not only children, adults get sick, particularly hepatitis, because of the unclean water and other things. When the hepatitis is there, they think Thlen has sucked all the blood, and that's why they have become pale. So, and also it has created social distress among the Khasis. The children of the Thlen keeper household, who are little better off, nobody wants to sit next to them, thinking that they might cut a piece of cloth or lock of hair, and then probably this would result into getting sick. So a distance is maintained, and this is how the 2 women who came from Thlen keeping household, they gave me stories of their school days. Second are the authority of the Oja or Kabiraj. This is he was earlier a truck driver, and then he decided to be a kind of a healer, and he became a Oja, and sometime known as Kabiraj. And he treats people from various kind of districts from that coming or regions. I saw some people who had come from far away, and there was a huge line that was waiting. So I asked him whether he would be telling us about the treatment, and he was very good. I met other Ojas also, but he was particularly explained. So if you see, there is a herbal kind of thing boiling in this, and then he has the iron rod, which is not clear, which he heats in that fire and puts in the bottle. And by the bubbles of the kind of character of the bubbles in the water, he can find out whether it is a Thlen attack or something else. So this is in the Khasi area. Next. Video can play? This is the video, so you can see. He showed me that. And this is, if this kind of, it creates bubbles, that means that there had been a Thlen attack. And then there is a kind of tiger spirit men in Nagaland, and they are also known as the kind of tiger men, but there are some women also. And there are all kind of mythical stories about them, that they are half human, half animal being. That is a popular belief. So I happened to meet one, this is in yellow shirt, that is the tiger man. And that is the tiger woman next to me in white top, white printed top. So description was that they are very big in size, they have rolling big eyes, and they cannot concentrate, and during day they sleep, in the night they do hunting, and they eat human flesh, and all kind of things were there. But I found this is in Sema village, yellow shirt man, and this was in the, sometime I met her in Garo Hills, this tiger woman. And we found that they were very gentle. Martin Luther Christian University has started giving certificates to herbalists after some training. But what is wrong with that training is that they are being trained in the herbal medicine, but they still continue their Thlen practice. So that means critical questions are not raised about this belief system. The belief system seen as the part of the culture, and that is not kind of, there is no, of course, legal change. But legal change by itself may not work in ending the witch violence as we have seen in Jharkhand and other places. But it does, somehow it does bring down this if it is kind of. So in the last kind of thing, I wanted to say that what needs to be done, and I need particularly your inputs on this. One is that decentralized healthcare facilities in rural and indigenous areas. Chhattisgarh was known for having cholera witches in the 18th, towards the end of 18th century. And second was, along with the legal and healthcare changes, cultural change in belief about the existence of witches and witchcraft practices is also needed. This not only I say, but two Padma Shri awardee, Chutni Devi in Jharkhand and Birubala Rava in Assam. They say that if we are witches, show us the kind of what we have done to be a witch. Give us the concrete evidence. So they are looking at the concrete evidence. And if we can really learn from anything from how in Europe and North America, the witch hunts came to kind of change. One thing was there was a kind of judiciary asked for the evidence, and that made really a lot of change. And it was very much part of religion and culture. Last one. So besides this, that women saying that there would be, and this came from the women, that there should be an adequate 50% representation of women and in local bodies like village committees, forest management committees. And then they said, then we will have really our voice and we will determine our kind of thing, whether we are witches or not. And local meetings to discuss rurality of beliefs in witches with interface with those working in metro cities and urban centers. A lot of people who are working in metro cities, whether we call them metro, definitely, they think that probably this is a part of the culture. It does not affect us. Things have changed. What are you talking about? That there are kind of witch doctors and others. So I think there need to be little more kind of deeper analysis of this. Social movement that campaign against the notion of persons acquiring evil powers, that has to be the, how do you acquire the evil powers? The last, my point which I started was that in the recent report after the Geneva meeting, which Samantha referred, I was also there. Then we got the UN Secretary General's report, which talk about the field of cultural rights. So this recently noted that a refusal to respect cultural mixing or mixed cultural identities leads to many human rights violations. And we do find this. And it is not only in indigenous societies, I would like to repeat it. It is really any society where we have to create new norms of dignity and equality for rural and indigenous women and men. It is important to recognize that the structure of gender norms has internal dynamics of change. They are changing, undermining the present patterns and gender roles. I have given the examples of how the Hindu culture has been changing from burning of the women like satis, and how the new kind of change has come, and what efforts it has taken. If we had continued to kind of with practices of satis, probably more women would have been burnt alive with at the pyre of the sun. Thank you. So can we have some brief discussions on this, some ideas that comments, questions, suggestions, how one should proceed? Oh, Sarika has raised hand. Okay. Sarika, you are muted.
Yes, no, not anymore. One is that thank you. for beginning this study. I think we started this somewhat when we were in Meghalaya earlier, and I did hear about Thlen then. Now, my curiosity was you're talking about a matrilineal society which seems to be under stress. So the norms of matrilineal are getting questioned at every front. And you're talking about Nagaland, which is a strongly patriarchal society. In terms of the gender distribution of people branded as witches, did you see that there were more men who were branded as witches in Meghalaya? Or was the number similar? Because I remember our earlier study in Meghalaya uh, came across something like about still about 80% of the women who were being branded were it was the women who were being branded as witches. And the second thing is that I must congratulate you on this very long term interventions that you have been talking about for quite some time. So just a change in the legal framework is not going to work. And but I still feel that we have to push for a policy against witch branding centrally, and together we must do that. But I must congratulate you on the study. I wish we had more time and we could have heard a little more.
Thank you. Now, the writings from Patricia Mukhim and others who are advocates of women's rights and others, they are saying that this is matrilineal only in name. There is a patriarchy within matrilineal. That matrilineal means only that notionally they have the property rights and lineage rights. They have more responsibility, particularly youngest daughter, but other women also, which is better than Hindu society where you have no rights at all. And you don't have any right on your children, you don't have any right on property. So, but decision making, no woman can represent in the even in the kind of local darbar, which is the kind of they are not represented. So this is the state there. They don't have the 33 representation, which is the constitutional rights of every woman in the name of that their cultural norms. So identity and their norms have to be maintained, but some space has to be created where women or men, any other marginalized group has the right. That would be very, very important. So this is the nature of the matrilineal. And men are also attacked, more kind of men are attacked in Meghalaya because they are supposed to, this clan keeper household, supposed to have employed men to collect blood from the human nails to feed the Thlen, snake. And then there is a kind of beating of the gongs and other thing till the Thlen kind of. Now it has come that if you don't collect the blood, then sometime you quietly cut the lock of the hair, little bit. And also piece of cloth. They said dupatta, particularly the shawl kind of thing. And when it's supposed how the Thlen, they say that you put it for a day and it turns into bloody red. And then the Thlen eats it. So this is this is cut from a silver kind of scissors, and the Thlen eats on the golden. So all golden plate. So all this is going on. I mean, myths, there are these myths and everywhere that kind of, they sound funny, but this is the impact is that you don't trust each other. So if you go alone as a villager in the village, if you are walking alone, man or woman, and particularly men, I think they would be really threatened for their life. Elderly men, and also sometimes there have been 1 or 2 cases when the men have been pushed down the hill because the Thlen was supposed to live in that kind of cavity that has been created. And so man was alone and he was elderly, so they pushed him kind of thing. So there has been these cases off and on, this happens. But even in this particular case, I would think that decision making, I'm so much against about this decision making is there that women cannot make decisions, any kind of thing. So, and this is increasing, and these movements have come up who say that, rest of India is advanced. Can you believe that they will say rest of India is advanced because there is no matrilineal? We are not so advanced because we are trapped in this matrilineal system. Any other question?
Hi, Govind. I just wanted to say I found it really interesting. As we know from the UN, we always come up with the same ideas. So very much so. Also on patriarchy, I didn't say at the beginning, I'm very feminist and against the patriarchy and for the rights of women. And my work previously was looking at it historically, and it did come from it came from the church in the UK. And this need to link with demonology that basically demonized women, and everything became women's fault. But for me, witchcraft, it's this product of the male and female power relations that we have in patriarchy. And that's always going to be the case there. And of course, you've got the issue with the castes and everything else in India there, where women are just not respected at all. And misogyny. So it was really, really interesting to see your presentation. Thanks, Govind.
Professor Khaka, you would like to give, or they would
Um,
like to add something?
Then I think it's very good. Only thing I feel is that probably we have to see as to how best we really relate the whole idea of inequality or emerging inequality in these societies, and as to how they are linked, or are they being linked or not really linked with the whole incidents of violence against women. Maybe extreme form could be witch hunting, but also from the cases the kind of witch hunting, or if at all we can call them, seems to be very different from the way in which witch hunting is being practiced, let's say in the central and eastern India. That I think that kind of extremism that we generally see in the context of eastern India, probably by and large seems to be I'm not saying missing, but I think it is there's a whole nuanced way in which women are treated, and whether and to what extent it discriminations, and the discrimination to what extent it really turns out to be something loaded with religion and therefore superstitions and witch hunting and so on. I think that part probably we need to sharpen that part. I feel inequality and the other extreme cases of violence against women, and what are the kind of forms that is really taking, are all the forms of violence should be taken as witch hunting. So I think I just thought that is one. The other is probably, I think, in the whole of the Northeast, can we give some space to the lineage, or what we call clan? Has it anything to do with, because in every village you find there's a founding clan or more important clan, other clans are inferior, or they have migrated from other villages or other parts, and therefore they do not necessarily have that kind of titles over land, etc., because it belongs to the lineage of the clan. So I think somewhere else, I think we need, particularly in the context of the Northeast, the place of clan probably, I think, is something we need to try to relate it, try to find it out whether it has anything to do with it. That is another dimension, I thought. And thirdly, I think also, I think the religion, in the sense whether it is Sankhasi or whether Christianity, and within Christianity, different sects of Christianity, I think those dimensions and the way in which they have looked at it, and whether they have really allowed it to be continued, whether they have been in a way challenging those, I think is also to my mind seems to be important. So somewhere else, the religion too, whether it is traditional or Christianity or other forms of religion, probably needs to be brought at the center stage in terms of addressing that. Also, I feel that legally it might become very difficult, because these are all special constitutional status. You have 6 schedules where you find that the enactment by parliament, etc., cannot be applicable. So it is primarily we have to try to influence the people from within the state, let's say in Meghalaya or Nagaland, or where they, if at all they have to work out a policy, then that has to be done, because asking central government to enact legislation, these are all problematic issues, because then I think we are to some extent will be considered as interfering with the special constitutional status that they have really been given. So I think it is more trying to influence the local state governments or autonomous district council. That is where I think we need to do it in terms of addressing the policy rather than at the national level. That's the kind of my points of view that I have.
Thank you so much, Professor Khaka. That is the any.
Yeah,
Thlen,
a
you
couple
want-
of points. Just that the question of inequality is important. You see it all across Africa, and you see it in the Pacific Islands also, all over. The manner in which the encounter with capitalism is leading to growing inequality and ways of leveling which are being practiced. So we need to find ways of dealing with inequality and providing social security that will really be able to lift these and change it and be so that they are able to deal with the problem that are coming up with the growing market society economies that we have. So I just think we need to link it with the larger question of the growing inequality and lack of social security in that situation.
Can I just jump on that, Govind? I agree, because
Yes.
my study looked at Papua New Guinea and Ghana and Nepal and India to see what was the same and what was different. And what appeared that the same issues we had there was these deep-rooted patriarchal attitudes that had become interwoven with issues like poverty and poor healthcare and gender inequality and the remoteness of societies. And what that did is it enhances this pervasiveness of gender inequality, and it starts these witchcraft accusations. And I found that the differences were how it manifested itself and how the actual abuse happened and who the targets were. So, for example, if I look at Ghana, the targets tend to be older women. And they actually had the witch camps in Ghana where women were ostracized. And there were issues there as to whether that was good or bad. It was a double-edged sword, really, because the women were in there but had no human rights, but they were still protected from society. And then we have Papua New Guinea that has a high gang culture and a high AIDS epidemic and sexual violence. And they were linking the AIDS to witchcraft, but of course it was the sexual violence and the rape culture. Of course, in India, it was women, as you well know, and in Nepal, it was still women. But if we look at Nigeria, it's children. So it's there, but it manifests itself very differently. But the reasons tend to be very much the same everywhere. And Dinesh Mishra, I'm not sure if anybody's aware of Dinesh Mishra, he's in Raipur, and he's an ophthalmologist, and he goes around and has awareness against superstition and witchcraft to prove that actually it is superstition and it can be challenged. But that link between superstition and fear is that deeply ingrained that that's very hard to change, I think.
Amit, you would like to? Amit? Are you
Yeah,
there?
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. So I'm sorry, what's the question? I was traveling back, so for a moment there was no internet.
Okay. No, I thought that whatever you have heard, whether you have any comments to make. Yeah. That was the question. If you're
Yeah.
not, then that's okay.
No, I was like, this is not a question, but kind of a clarification. So about legislative mechanisms in place in the places where the research was taken, and how far is that helpful in maybe combating these beliefs or practices? So is there enough legislative mechanism in place? I'm not sure. So this is kind of a question from my side.
Well, somebody would like to respond to that, or?
I'll
Should I?
respond in a way that what I've found is that there's all the laws in the world that you can put in place, but if the laws aren't respected and they're not substantiated by the people who are supposed to be, so the police, the court system, etc., then the laws really in isolation are pointless in a way. You have to have the laws and you have to have this backed up, and it's a top down and a bottom up approach. So you've got the UN and all the treaties, for example, and conventions, but some states don't care because it's political will. And if you move it down there to a national level, again, you've got so many issues there that for me, it needs to go at a grassroots level and work its way up. Because the laws, as Amit said, the laws are there. And I know there's many laws in India that are there, but actually, are they making any difference? I would say not necessarily. And that's the issue. And I think that's the issue all the way through the system, from the very bottom to the top of the UN, that we've got, for the example, the resolution's there and in place, and we fought to get it, but what now? So we have to carry on this campaign to make sure that things are implemented, because otherwise that they don't have any purpose. And that for me is the main problem in terms of law.
In my opinion, the laws are, they are necessary, but they are not enough kind of to deal with the question. The only thing that effect of the law has been where the state laws are there, that they are very weak, not effect, but the character of the laws. That Jharkhand, you see it, which highest number of which is it produces to 2,000 kind of fine, as if nothing has happened. A human being is killed and nothing murdered in numbers. 5 women gone are sometimes killed in one kind of one shot of hair. So, but there is no fearless killing. Ojhas have gone kind of they are not openly kind of discussing these things. So the practice has really gone. And also the police and the judiciary is very ambivalent about saying that these are the part of the social norms, belief. So they also don't take seriously. So laws is only one component which can strengthen the thing. But in particularly Northeast, Professor Khaka, as he explained, that because of the 6th schedule, like in 33%, which is the constitutional kind of thing, that is also not being implemented. I think that needs to be implemented, because whether the 6th schedule provides them kind of freedom from being away from constitution, because they have been part of the constitution, but I'm not sure. I need to look at this again.
Basically, what I was trying to say is that in the sense that at the dawn of independence, they were given this special provisions because of the anxiety of safeguarding their identity and so on and so forth. But so what I was trying to say is that probably there's a need of a policy or even legislation, but to put pressure on the states or on the autonomous district councils, rather than putting pressure on the Indian state. I think that will a little bit problematic.
Yeah.
And so that is, I think, for example, Meghalaya government, Meghalaya state has to be put pressure in order to bring about if there is a need of a policy or the law. Similarly, either if the state government doesn't do, I think at the autonomous district council level. So those are things I think which are easier to put pressure there rather than.
Yeah, that's right. So can we wind up this discussion? And Dev, you want to say something? I wanted to bring the second agenda because we have overshot the time.
Okay.
For this.
Okay, just
would you like?
I think Robin circulated a questionnaire, a very short one, just 2 pages. This is really to collect data on incidents of witch hunts or witch persecutions. And I would like to link what Samantha told us about the likelihood or definite possibility of a conference sometime in September linked to the United Nations UN system. So I think if we can, with our network and all the networks and the one that Samantha is also involved in, if we can collect some material which can be showcased over there. You know, we can put a lot of different kinds of material. It doesn't have to be of the same type of academic rigor that we would do in our data collection, but you can have accounts of various types. It can be somebody writing an account of it, somebody writing about the kind of practices or beliefs that there are. I have seen some videos nowadays TV videos come up, we can put together those TV videos. So we can really put together a whole set of data showing, one, that this phenomenon is quite, and secondly, it's something that is very small or something that can be just put aside and not bother. It's not so minuscule, but it requires action. So if we keep that in mind, and though we've not really been successful in having a meeting today, I can understand that at this time of December, everybody is really busy finishing up all their work in the end of semester, end of term, etc., or whatever they're working in. All projects also usually end in December. So completing all that. So we should think again, let this remain with the members of the Alliance. We can write to them again to ask for any comments on this. And maybe sometime in the end of Jan, and if Samantha can give us a short note on this, like on the conference that is going to be held in September, we can link the two as a way of putting together material that can be showcased at the conference in September.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Govind will back me up on this. I think what I found all the way through the process of the resolution was it became very Africa focused, and we've had to fight for the recognition actually in other places this occurs. So I think that would be really, really good, and presentations. And for me, the most poignant thing I've ever heard at the UN was when one of the survivors actually told her story, because it was real. And I think we need more of that. We can have all the academics talking about what happens, but actually when someone's telling you what's happened to them, and it was Mariam, she had albinism, she had her arms cut off, and she was telling the story there. That made the massive difference. So I agree. I think we can have many varieties of storytelling and make it bigger from different perspectives. I think that would work, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you, Samantha.
I think we can put together a small brochure with numbers, whatever numbers we're able to get. And secondly, along with that, photographs and videos, like Samantha said, or, actual stories. We have people in India who can do that. And I'm sure our African colleagues will be able to get people who will talk about it. And Samantha and others can help with people from the Pacific Islands. So the only one place which we need to contact, we should try to contact, is Latin America, because Peru, for instance, does have a large number of incidents of child witches.
We had
people who...
Did we not have someone from Latin America in Geneva?
I know. South Africa there was, but Latin America person was there, but she did not
there
really
was.
talk much. The language was a problem for her.
He was. He went off tangent a bit. I didn't really understand what the guy from Latin America was on about. He went into indigenous communities, but it didn't really make any sense. And I think Govind felt the same. We were like, well, I don't understand this. So maybe it can be contacted again and see if there's any links over there. We do have on the Alliance a journalist actually from New York. So we've got an American perspective who's looking at it. The next meeting, I think, for us is the end of January. So what I can do is I can have this discussion and see how we can all be involved and do it together and get the things out there, and everybody, that's what the network's for everybody to work together on different projects. So absolutely, we can do something. And we've got Maluka and Mitty Drummond, who's the UN expert on albinism, currently involved. So she's very good at pushing things forward as well from that scope. So anything.
We had a Maluka in one of the meetings, Alliance meetings.
Yeah.
She spoke at the Alliance meeting. That is that.
Yeah, so if we can, as Samantha says, if we can meet sometime late in January, and we can put a few things that can be done and keep a target, like say that we should be ready June, July with all the material. And then we, we'll take a couple of months to put it together in a manner, use help, get some help from media to do it, be best suited for the occasion. So
Yeah.
yeah, we can put a timetable like that. Then it'll give our alliance members something concrete to work towards. They know that we are producing a product which is going to be placed before the UN. That I think that way they will. It'll give them a motivation to do something clearly.
I completely. I've got to write up the notes of this meeting for Miranda, who's the director of the network. So that will get to her, and then we can have that conversation at the next meeting.
Yeah, Miranda said that she would join. I don't know why she couldn't.
She's
join.
It's about, I don't know what time it is in Australia, but her child was in the background of the meeting we had previously, so she had to put her to bed. So it was too late for her to join. But she's asked me if I can take the notes, or if you've got a recording of this, Govinda, I can send it to her. That would be good, because she could help in the process as well.
Okay, I'll send that to her. Any other thoughts?
No, I think we have a very clear an agenda to work for, and then
I
we have
think
to put people together.
what we can do is we have only one item agenda, and then we can have thorough discussion on the questions and how do we go about. Today, So should
Just
we
one
close the
point,
meeting? Sarika, you have anything?
No, just one point. Do you want to discuss a possible date in the end of January? Everybody's calendar gets filled up very quickly. So say the third Friday of January. How is that? Or third Thursday?
Well, let me write. Otherwise, this happens like this. Today, people either towards the end of Sarika is saying, I'm so sorry, I really have to get into another meeting. I can also help in the process of documentation and in testimonies. I will be watching the recording. Okay, that will be sent to you, Sarika.
I wonder
So
if the next meeting was possibly the beginning of February. I've just looked back at my notes. Miranda's away because in Australia it's their summer holiday, so she's away till around the end of January. So for me to feed back, it would be easier to have that meeting before this meeting, and then we can feed back. So maybe February, beginning of February or second week in February would work, and then we've got something to discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think February between 6th and the 10th. 6th is Monday and 10th is Friday. So
February, we are talking of February.
6th and 10th, second week of February.
Okay, that's good. Then second week of Feb, by that time, whatever the kind of overshot of the hangover of the year gets over, some work and some holidays. In January, it happens. Yeah. So it doesn't happen like this, what happened today. But I am glad that whatever the number, but discussion was good. I'm very happy about it. Faustina is very good in terms of, and then John Ajuma is kind of, they have presented earlier kind of the work on witch camps and other things, and that has been very good. So we can rope them in also in this. They are members of that.
At these kind of events, I've seen you have things like posters. So you can have a country poster. Our Ghana friends can prepare a Ghana poster. Some people from South Africa can prepare a South Africa poster. We can prepare an India poster, Pacific Islands. So whichever we can have posters as part of the, and we can finalize it in Feb when we meet. What are all the things we could do?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. There's scope for a lot. We did the concept note for the resolution, and we did a map, and we just showed of where it occurred, and it was everywhere. And we need that representation, because Africa has always been the focus, but I think that's just because of the albinism, and it was a way to get into the UN, which has been perfect. But now we need to expand away from that and realize that actually it's more widespread than people think. But Miranda does a lot in Papua New Guinea, so she's fantastic for that in the Pacific. So we do have that representation, I think, across the network.
Okay, should we close the meeting now with this kind of thing?
Yeah, we close it next time. Yeah.
You write a short minutes giving these main points, which you can send to everybody.
Yes, Yes, okay. The recording is there, and then we will send the full discussion on the recordings.
Half page minutes, because recording will be half an hour, 45 minutes. Is a long time to hear. So
Okay, all right. Old school, old school. Okay.
Okay, then. See you next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Amit, is your thesis
Same to all
shareable?
of
Then
you.
we'll send it.
Same, wishing you all the same.
Yeah, my thesis is available online.
Please send us a link.
Send the link, please.
Sure. I will.
Samantha, I don't know what happened to
I'm
that.
particularly asking Amit because we have a daughter who's working on acid violence in India. So it'll be good for her to see some other work on violence. Okay.
I have to say, Dev, I've got your book here
Yeah.
behind me on witch hunts, and I'm referenced in your book. I was quite pleased to see that, actually.
And for my
Good to
thesis,
know.
I have referred to material from Govind, Dev, Nathan, and like everyone here. So I wasn't doing a very deep study on witchcraft, but it was just looking at it and trying to understand why there is violence against women in 21st century India, and what is the understanding of violence against women in India. So I was looking at honor killing, witchcraft, and Devadasi as 3 examples and how to use it to then say that the Indian understanding of gender-based violence isn't matching up to the international understanding. So I was also in my thesis, when I was talking about witchcraft, I focused on the state of Jharkhand because I am from Jharkhand. And then I looked at it from a very legal perspective. I looked at the law, which clearly wasn't sufficient. Then I had to draft amendments to the law. And that was my contribution to the thesis. So I drafted a model law that if at all in future somebody is trying to change the law, at least these points should be a part of it or something like this. So I'll share the link of the thesis with Samantha, and then she can forward it to everyone in the.
Yeah, that will be very good.
That would
We
be
had
really good.
this morning we had a case in Dwarka of someone throwing acid at a gun
Yes.
in our
Oh.
own locality.
Yeah, that's where Virginia stays, I know.
This is what.
Yeah. A girl had acid thrown on her face. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. See. Yeah.
Just repeat.